Welcome back to Auto Technic and another week or two of behind the scenes footage as I bring you guys along as I run my service business, Scuderia Custode. Well, it has been a while since we've done a vlog series update here on the channel, and there is good reason why. But before we discuss that, since it's been a while, a lot has changed in the shop. So I want to run you guys through and show you what cars we have in the shop and kind of what work we have ahead of us in the near future. So we're going to start all the way up here at the front, and we have our 1965 Cobra. And you know, I actually didn't plan on doing a long form video on this car. And then as I was getting into the work on the car, well, things kind of escalated and we ended up making one video here on this car, which is still a work in progress. So I'm going to get our cover off, and you can see right back here we have the entire fuel tank out of the car. Yes, so this car was supposed to be here for what I thought was just going to be a pretty quick in and out, just basic fluid services, go through the engine oil, gearbox, rear diff, coolant, brake fluid, clutch fluid, just make sure the car is in tip-top shape. Well, the car came in, you could smell that the fuel is rotten. The client actually knew that, and he brought me some clear gas that he uses for the car, so fresh 5 gallons, and he did request that I drain the tank, and that's really where things just completely unraveled on this car. I drained the tank, I found a bunch of corrosion inside the fuel system. I talked to the client, I said, well, we should probably go ahead and pull the tank out and get it cleaned, you know, get our fuel system up to snuff. Let's replace your fuel line, fuel filter. The carburetor had previously been rebuilt, so I think we're going to be okay there. The fuel filter seemed to be doing its job, catching a lot of this gunk from getting into the carburetor. So he said, go ahead, yeah, sure, let's do that. And unfortunately, once I pulled the tank and got it out of the car, the problem was far worse than I thought. We actually have the tank over here right now, and there is a ton of buildup inside the tank. There is actually broken baffles inside the tank. I mean, you can see what is remaining of our fuel cinder, where the arm has actually broken off, but you can see all the corrosion on that, where things just really escalated on this situation. So there's a couple different options that we talked about with the client, where we could take that tank to, say, like a radiator shop, have it patched and repaired, boiled out, cleaned, put back in, but it's gonna look like a radiator shop worked on it. There is a replica tank that is available on the market that looks pretty much just like that factory tank, except it's made out of stainless steel. But the concern is these cars are so hand built, getting the tank to fit as it should, because of the fuel filler neck and the fuel cinder is incredibly tight to get in underneath this bar from here on the frame. That's kind of where we went with the third and best option for this car, where we're going to have a new tank made for this car. So I need to get that tank packaged up, boxed up, shipped off to the builder, and then we have the lead time as they go through and fabricate a custom tank for the car. It's going to be an interesting tank because it's going to be obviously the same shape, but it's going to be reinforced and very, very updated to prevent what happened to that tank from ever happening again. A, because of the stainless, but also B, because of the way the baffles are. He completely redesigns the whole tank and makes a superior product. So what I thought was going to be a short, quick in and out car, unfortunately, I think we're going to be looking at that Cobra for quite a while. Our 348. So this has been here for a little bit. I completed my inspection on the car. We moved in and did a PPI on it. This car has been owned for quite a while by this owner. Not seeing much mileage at all, and it is well past due on a timing belt. I think it's 10 plus years. So he is going to be selling the car. He dropped it off with me. He said, just go ahead and look over it. Once I get your inspection report, we'll discuss and see what a path forward is. We got that completed. I talked to him, and great news. We're going to be moving in, doing the timing belt service on this car. Really, I'm going to be going through and getting most everything taken care of on this car in preparation for it to be sold. So whoever is going to end up buying this 348 is going to get an outstanding car, because not only is it going to be a well-sorted, well-optioned, red on tan Targa 348, hard to beat that, but it's going to be sorted. You're not going to have to worry about it. And then on top of that, there's going to have all the long-form videos of all the work being shown. So that's going to be an outstanding buy for somebody, a pretty amazing car. And moving over, our 458 from San Francisco. Now, this has kind of been in the back corner of the shop for a while. We were waiting on our sticky parts to come back. Had most of our leather back, and you can see that last week I was doing a lot of work to get the dash back into the car. So All the sticky parts are back. They actually have a new finish that feels pretty much exactly like the factory soft touch, but it's not soft touch. This is the first parts that I've gotten from them with that finish, and it turned out fantastic. So I actually spent pretty much all of last week working on this car, getting it put back together. We got the dash put back in it, and then I started working on reassembly. You can see I got all my subcomponents for the sticky parts reassembled and together. And really where I'm at here is I'm at a stopping point because I will also be installing or retrofitting in a CarPlay module. And I also have a backup camera that I'm going to be installing into the car. So I'm actually at a point with my interior reassembly where I need to stop, install those components, and then continue on with the assembly and get everything buttoned up on here. So I'm making dedicated videos on the CarPlay install. There's a dedicated video on gonna be on the backup camera install. There's a dedicated video for the sticky and a dedicated video for the dash right there. So all of the work kind of overlaps and it's similar across, you know, the same area and what I'm doing, but I'm breaking it up into 4 dedicated videos. Once I have the interior completely back together on this car, I do need to move through and finish a service. So, you know, basic engine oil change. We're gonna do a brake fluid flush. I need to fill it back up with coolant since we had that drained for the dash. I got to fill the AC back up since I had that evacuated for the dash, but get that taken care of, put a drive belt on the car. And once I have that service done with this car, we're going to be at a stopping point. And the last thing that we're going to be waiting for is the exhaust for the car. So that's pretty exciting. It's been a long wait. I know the client's been very patient and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very excited to have that car finished and back in his hands, because the difference we're going to make with that exhaust, the car is going to sound amazing, but it's going to be quieter when he wants it to be quieter. It's going to be louder when he wants it to be louder. So it's the best of both worlds. But just when he gets in the car and he sees the interior with no more lifting leather, all the sticky done, the CarPlay, the backup camera, I really am eager to hear his feedback and what he thinks of the work that I did to the car, the presentation of the car, and really his overall experience with bringing it up here and having me service it. And then moving on, we have our blue Posey 575 right here, which is, it's a shame to put this car under a car cover with this blue. It is absolutely outstanding and stunning. I absolutely love this color. And this car actually came in for a PPI and a few other odds and ends. And one of those other odds and ends was a odor. So fuel vapor odor he was complaining of. The car smelled like fuel in the garage. And I did some digging around on the fuel tank. I actually found one of our rollover valves over here was leaking, so we replaced that. Still went through after I replaced that valve, repressurized the system. And although my smoke machine was not showing any smoke, it did show a very small leak. We're talking incredibly minor leak. So I still picked up on that, and I was able to get a bore scope in through the side of the wheel well of the car, up and in on top of the tank. As you can see, the tank is actually out of the car. And I'll bring you guys over here. We have fuel tank row. But I was worried about this forwardmost rollover valve. This is the top of the tank at the front of the car. Here's the rear of the tank. And you can see that there's a small split right there on the valve, and you can see our O-ring sticking out right there. And this is an older valve. You can see they've already had the tank out and replaced the forward, or the rear valves, I should say, the ones that are easy to get to. So I saw that and I'm like, well, that right there is probably our issue. We need to get a new valve in there where it's not fractured and where there's no damage to that seal. So I've been waiting on parts for that, and fortunately those have shown up. So that way we can work to get that new valve put in, new seal put in, put the tank back into the car, and that's all we're waiting on to finish up that car. Over here, we have our black 430. This is a 2008 Spider. It's been converted. It's in just for a few odds and ends. Really nothing exciting on this car, and probably nothing gonna be filmed on this car. I just wanna focus on getting it taken care of and out the door. And as you guys can see back here, more stuff. We have our first F12 for the channel. This is a 2014 F12. The paint color is a custom paint, or it's a non-standard paint, I should say. So it is Grigio Abu Dhabi, and I think the car is locked, but it has a deep red interior with white stitching. Absolutely fantastic car. And believe it or not, this F12 only has 587 miles. It's virtually brand new. So this car was dropped off. We have to do a service. He requested that I do a PPI on the car, so just do a good inspection, and then he's gonna have me replace the battery. I mean, with such low mileage, I highly suspect I'll find nothing wrong with the car on the PPI, which is what we want. But he wants me to go through and have the car inspected. He really wants to be sure everything is good, because I think he's gonna move on from the car. I think this car is gonna hit the market here soon, which with that low of mileage and a unique, beautiful color, plus that interior, be really interesting to see how this car does, because the current market is bonkers lately. And last, our stepchild, the one that doesn't fit in with the others. We have a 2002, I believe, BMW E46 M3. So if you guys aren't BMW fans, E46 is the chassis code for this car. And you might be wondering, why in the world is there an M3 here in the shop? Well, you guys may not have known, but I really cut my teeth in my career starting out working in BMW dealerships back in the early 2000s. And these cars are really my bread and butter. And he reached out and asked me if I'd be willing to replace the rod bearings on this car. The rod bearings is kind of a preventative maintenance type situation on certain BMWs. A lot of the owners like to do them, particularly with the E46 M3s. There was actually a really big recall in 2001, 2002, where we at the dealer we're putting rod bearings in every single M3, and depending on the production of the car, it got rod bolts, not rod bolts, it got an oil pump, didn't get an oil pump. The recall changed, and there was actually more than one recall, there were several recalls. So it's a very common thing, but he reached out and he asked, like, hey, you know, I see that you have your shop. He saw that I have my E39 M5 on the channel, so he's like, I see you do a lot of BMW work. I like the quality and the attention to detail. Would you be interested in doing rod bearings on my car? And I kind of laughed, because I was like, well, absolutely. I mean, I've done countless sets of rod bearings. I can't tell you how many I've done, although it's probably been about 25 years since I've done them. So definitely a trip back down memory lane on this, where I'm going to go through and do this repair that, I mean, I did nonstop day in and day out at the dealer, and I haven't done it in so long. But the car is really clean, about 140,000 miles. And like I mentioned, I have a 2001 M5. So if you guys aren't that familiar, the M3 is the smaller coupe of this era. It was only available in a coupe. Inline six, and it made 333 horsepower, I believe, naturally aspirated, independent throttle bodies. Pretty cool car, real nimble, real good handling sports car. I'm really fond of them from this era. I think they're built better. It's a dedicated engine apart from a regular 3 Series. It's a very specific engine, naturally aspirated, independent throttle bodies. All that stuff for a road going car is amazing. It's absolutely badass. And my M5 is really the big brother to it, where it's a 4-door sedan. It's the same build philosophy of the car, except my car is a V8, still has independent throttle bodies. These cars, I mean, like I mentioned, I was just cutting my teeth in my career. I was a young 20-year-old kid that was working in the dealership, and these cars were brand new at the time. So they were very influential to me, and it's almost kind of sentimental at this point, because they were, you know, I was a broke kid working in a dealership, and these cars brand new were $50,000, $60,000. I mean, M5s were $80,000, $90,000, and I just kind of had the googly eyes on them, just couldn't imagine it, and I was getting to work on them and drive them. So they always will have a bit of a special place for me just because of that. So I'm really looking forward to working on this M3 and taking that stroll back down memory lane. But you guys can see that I am busy and the shop is nearly completely full. This is absolutely wild. I knew that I needed more space, and that's why we ended up getting the shop, but I did not imagine that I would have it filled up this quickly and I would have this much work stacked in front of me. I mean, not gonna lie guys, I'm a little low-key stressed with how much work I need to do, and the fact that it's only me here in the shop. And well, I just don't really want to let any of my clients down. I want to, you know, make sure I can set their expectations and meet them and not fall behind with too many projects. But I think we're going to be in good shape, because I think the 575 and the 430 are going to be, hopefully with any luck, be able to at least be finished and not need any work this week. I don't know if they'll leave, but if they don't need any of my attention and they just sit here, that's fine. 458, like I said, we're waiting on parts. I have a grace period with the F12 to work on it, same with the M3. So we're in a good situation. Parts on order for this car for the major service, so we don't need to start on it yet. And obviously our Cobra is gonna be here for a while. It's all manageable, but I just need to really be, you know, attentive and aware and stay on top of it, so that way I don't fall behind and I can keep these cars moving through the shop and I don't keep my clients waiting. Which brings me to my other point, why I mentioned it's been a while since we've done a shop update. actually took a pause on them. What I actually found is from filming the shop updates, I felt that it started to affect the quality of my long form videos. I felt that it was distracting me a little too much, and trying to manage enough filming to make an update to follow me along for a week in the shop, it just wasn't really working out really well. So I took a little bit of a pause from it, because everything I do in the shop, my order of priorities, number one is working on the cars, taking care of my clients. Priority number one by a insane margin. My second priority is my technical long form videos. Those are only fall below making sure my clients are taken care of. And then last but not least, are like the vlog style videos, this shop update video. So I had to change something, because I didn't want to reduce the quality of work and service that I'm giving my clients, and also my technical videos, which that's what my channel is built around. That's really why I created the channel, and that's the main content for the channel. I view these videos as just as a bonus. So I took a break for a couple of weeks, just focused on getting work done on the shop, moving through cars and getting things taken care of. But I was coming into work today thinking about what is ahead of me and what I need to do. I'm like, man, there is just so much that has changed. I need to bring the guys back. We need to do a little bit of filming, so that way I can show them what's going on in the shop, because I mean, there's a lot going on. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna play this out, because I'll probably just grab the camera here and there throughout the next week, or probably two. That's what I might change, where I might stretch these videos and not try to just film a dedicated video in a week, and just kind of bring you along in a broader, larger overview, and reduce the cadence of these videos just a little bit. That's gonna allow me to keep my technical long form video quality very high, and make sure I get my clients taken care of. So that is where we're at. There was a lot to get you guys caught up on. It is my Monday morning here, so I just got here, and I have a bunch of chores that I need to do. I got more stuff I need to unpack. I got a chair I got to build. I got stuff I need to rearrange. There's an EPA inspection coming through, or something with the property management coming through the shop tomorrow. So I'm probably going to spend a little bit of time to make sure, like, all my chemicals and oils are properly, taken care of and not in the line of sight. I don't want to bring any unneeded attention to myself. So I'm probably going to spend a little time just to make sure everything in the shop, I don't raise any questions I don't want. So I get to get that stuff taken care of. And then I think for today, my focus is going to be our 575. I have the parts that I mentioned for our fuel tank. I would love to get the fuel tank off the floor, especially for those people who are going to come by tomorrow. That would be good. But I'd love to get the car back together. I think that's the closest car to getting buttoned up and finished. Getting it off of the lift would be a huge bonus. So I'm going to focus there. And I think after that, I'm probably going to maybe spend some time on the 430. I think those two cars are my first priorities this week. And then from there, we'll probably reassess. I'm going to jump in, take care of my chores, and then I don't know when I'll see you guys back, but I'll bring you guys back at some point when something cool has happened or something has changed, and get you guys caught up with the status of the day. All right, I am back. It is now about noon, and got all of our chores done, and actually jumped back on our 575. We got our new rollover valve in. Actually just finished with my smoke machine testing the evap system to make sure that we do not have any leaks. So I kind of talk about this in a long form video on this car, but I found after I did our initial repair that we still had a leak on this car. I did a upper rollover valve that's actually buried up there. I found that it was leaking. Once I replaced it, I retested the system, and I still found that I had a leak. And my point with this is, a lot of times someone will go and diagnose the car, find something bad, order the part, put the new part on, button the car back up, and give it back to the client, and they don't spend the time to verify their diagnosis and the repairs. So I went back through, even after that first rollover valve, retested the system, still found that I had a leak, spent some more time on it. That's when we got the borescope on top of the tank. I was able to find that bad rollover valve and seal. Now that I have that back in, once again, went back into testing the system. And although this is my smoke machine that I'm using, I'm not using any smoke right now. I'm actually just using this for my flow control, and my ball right there, which you can see is at the very bottom, which is exactly what we want, which means we have zero flow going into the tank. So I have the tank completely sealed off. Every connection is on. I have a power supply right here onto our solenoid valve to our charcoal canister to close that valve and seal the system. I have my smoke machine coming in right here. And again, it's just flowing compressed air in there. And you can see no flow. Beforehand, we were just a little bit up there, which is what we wanted. And if I take this hose off right here, off of the car, you can probably hear the tank venting. There's a little bit of pressure in there, but you can see as I move the flow right here on the end of this hose, you can see that ball moving up and down. So we had a small leak before. We were hovering, you know, just right about there. And you shut off all flow, the ball drops to the bottom. So that right there confirms with a fact. There's no doubt, complete certainty that we have found all the issues in the fuel system. It is sealed fully tight. It is functioning the way it needs to be. The customer's complaint of the fuel vapor odor is going to be gone, and also the faults that he had in the NCMs for the evaporative emissions leak will be gone, so there's no potential for a check engine light. So it's a little bit of extra work doing this, but it can guarantee or verifies that I can guarantee the work I give back to my client. Little extra step, definitely worth it in the long run. Now that we're free and clear on this car, I need to just finalize my fender liner installation, take everything off, put my trunk trim back in, get that taken care of, trunk seal, get the wheels and tires on, get them torqued, get the car cleaned up, get the trunk cleaned up, and I think we're done with this 575. So that's gonna be my focus right now. I'm gonna get all that stuff wrapped up so I can get this car done and off the lift. And at that point, I think it's time for me to head over to my 430 and start working on that. In a dream scenario, if I could get the 430 done today on top of the 575, I will be beyond ecstatic. That will be a massive victory for me. So the only way I'm gonna make that happen is getting back to work on these cars. Morning, guys. Back in the shop, back at it. Did not end up bringing you guys back yesterday. Pretty busy day, a lot going on, and as you notice, we're down one car. Our blue Posey 575 got picked up, so that's back with the client. And well, gives us a little bit more working space in the shop. I spent pretty much the rest of the day yesterday just finalizing what I need to get taken care of on the 430. Nothing exciting on that, no filming being done whatsoever. And I have that car fully assembled right now, sans the under trays. I need to take it on a couple more quick test drives to be sure that everything is taken care of, and then let the client know that we got his 430 sorted out. I do need to talk to the client. We might end up doing an oil change in the car. We'll see what he wants to do on that. It's been about a year for that car since it's had its last oil change. Really, my focus for the rest of the day in the shop today is gonna be our M3 for the rod bearings. I'm gonna get that on the lift just now and get that job underway. I just filmed the intro for it, and that is because on our 458, I was working on that also yesterday for the CarPlay, but I have a few questions for the manufacturer of the CarPlay. I'm waiting to hear back from them. So that car is just at a temporary pause. I want to get into the M3 in case I run into any roadblocks or issues, because then if I do, I can jump over and service our F12, which I know that this is going to be a in and out, no surprises, get it done, turn around, pretty easy car. I don't want to just, burn up that quick, easy work on the get-go, just in case I need some buffer work if I run into an issue here. And then again, our 458, we're pending some information from the manufacturer. So once I get that information, I could finish up our CarPlay installation, finish up the rest of the interior install. I could go through and get that car serviced, so I need to do an oil change, put some coolant in it, do all those other items. So there is some work we can do there. And then obviously there's not going to be much change on the Cobra or the 348 for a bit. I need to work through the rest of these cars before we can dive into the 348. And also, I would really like the parts to be here before I pull the engine and get into it. I do have all those parts on order, and our fuel tank for the Cobra, I need to get a box built and made so that way I can get that fuel tank mailed off. But that's where we're at. I'm just kind of a juggling act with it just being me in the shop on trying to, I only can work on one car at a time, and I have a lot of commitments, so I'm just trying to do my best to keep my workflow as efficient as possible for me, but also not keep my clients waiting any longer than they really need to be waiting to get their cars worked on. That's kind of the battle that I've been working on. So I am gonna get this M3 on the rack. I'm kind of looking forward to this in an odd way because it is gonna be a massive stroll down memory lane. So I'm gonna get it on the rack. The way we're timed with today, I'm probably gonna get the car torn down, so I'll get the oil pan off, and then I like to get the oil from the bottom of the engine cleaned, and then I like to let them sit overnight and drip. So that way when I actually have to get under the car and do a lot of work directly underneath the engine of the car, I have less oil that's dripping on me all day. That's really my goal for today, is get the car up on the air, get it disassembled, get the oil pan off, get everything up to the point of the rod bearings, get everything cleaned. I saved some big pieces of cardboard specifically for this car from our air compressor when that came in. I throw those on the floor, minimize my mess. That way I can come in tomorrow and work on a fresh, clean slate, get the rod bearings in, button the car back up, and hopefully that job treats us pretty well. So I'm gonna get started on that, and yeah, we're filming a long form video on the rod bearings. It's a little bit interesting because, like I said, we do it with the engine in the car. Kind of counterintuitive, but we can do it. All right, you guys can see that I am making a big mess over here on our M3, and there you have it. We have the bottom side of the S54. Yeah, everything's cleaned. I've brake cleaned it, so I'm trying to minimize the oil dripping on me. I'm gonna let this sit probably overnight, then I'll come back in and it is ready to get our rod bearings on. So I'll just do them one at a time, pop the rod cap, spin the bearings off. We're gonna use plastic gauge to measure our clearances, put everything back on. So a little bit, you know, change of pace, let's say. Definitely not the same as Ferrari work. Memory, I'm kind of beyond myself or besides myself on how well I remembered what I needed to do to get this apart. I mean, I spent 10 years as a BMW technician, and really this was like my era of car, which is ideal because in my opinion, the E46, the E39, the E38, the E53, that is the golden years of BMW. I feel that those cars are the best build quality. It was good to jump back and dive into it and do that repair. And I can tell you what, it is interesting going from so focused on Ferrari back into the BMW world, because I remember the change when I went from BMW to the Ferrari, and that was a steep learning curve. It really was. It was really like starting all over again. I've always said it, and this is the best way to describe my takeaway of the change from working for BMW for 10 years to going to work for Ferrari. And I always say that the first year of working for Ferrari, I learned more than I did in 10 years working for BMW. I say this as I went back to do this repair on the car, and my God, was it easy. I am so trained and conditioned for these cars, which are so much more difficult to work on. Things go sideways, hardware doesn't go back in, the clips strip out, screws do weird things. They just difficult to put together, and that is my new norm. And then when I went jump back to my old norm, the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, man, this is really easy. So it was a lot of fun to get it torn down. Like I said, we're just gonna let it sit, get everything cleaned up, and then I'll come in tomorrow, finish that up. Been driving our 430, just talked to the client. While it's here, I'm gonna get it on the lift real quick, swap it out with this 458, get an oil change done for him, so that way he can get the car buttoned back up, and he can take it and drive it. And hopefully I won't have to see that car for another year. That's always the goal. Small development here on our 458. So when this car initially came in, it had much wider front tires on it than are currently on it. They stuck out from the fender quite a bit. I talked to the client about it and I said, hey, let's correct your front tire fitment and then let's evaluate, because this car does have wheel spacers. But I said, your front tires stick out too much, and I just think we can make the car look a lot better than what it was. So over here on this side, now that granted, these are narrower front tires, we have 20 millimeter spacers front and rear, and I still think the front tire, for my taste, is a little aggressive on how much spacer there is there sticking out. Now, the other thing I talked to the client about is I told him, your wheel bolts, you can see that they're the factory chrome wheel bolts, but somebody had gone through and painted these at one point black, and all the paint's chipping off. Obviously, it's a black wheel. It has the factory optional carbon fiber center caps. And I am a big believer that your wheel bolts should match roughly the wheels. So say on a silver car like the 430, a chrome wheel bolt is okay, but a chrome wheel bolt on a black wheel, for me, just does not work. I do not like it whatsoever. We had that conversation with the client and he says, I agree, I don't like it. And I'm like, well, I think we can fix both things in one foul swoop. So over here, I've swapped the wheel spacers to a set of 15 millimeter wheel spacers. They just showed up today. So you can see that it has the wheels just not so aggressive, especially up here on the front. It just flush, not too much. So that made a dramatic difference. It looks a lot better. But with those wheel spacers, we went with black titanium wheel bolts. And let me tell you, you stand back, and now that you have those black wheel bolts in there, they just kind of hide and disappear at that black wheel, which is what you want. The chrome ones are just too distracting. I'm gonna bring you guys around so you can see they just stand out. Bring you back over here. Makes such a radical difference. The wheel bolts are just drawing too much negative attention to the car there. We come over to this front, and the black ones, that's right where it's at.
So those just showed up today. I got those two on. The difference is wild. Outstanding. This car is really coming together nicely. Cannot wait to see it be done. So there's one more thing I forgot to show you guys when we're going over the M3 here. And check out my Father's Day present for my kids. These nice battery-powered LED lights, and these things they got for me to help with filming, so we have better lighting. But I realized that they work absolutely fantastic for when I'm filming underneath the car, so that way you guys can see what's going on. But they make amazing lights for me to see what I'm doing, and I did not anticipate that that would be such a good use for these, and they are absolutely amazing. I can go through and change all the colors on them, the brightness. They're actually quite nice and really came in helpful while I was under the car getting everything down, because I didn't have to deal with a drop light or a flashlight. Really big fan of those after today. That's kind of where we're at. The M3 stopping point for today. I am going to swap around the 458 and our 430, so that way I can get the 430 on the lift. I need to get the oil dropped, start doing that oil change. That way I can get the diffusers and under tray back on the car, get it buttoned up for the client. And then I'm still waiting on word for the 458, no progress there, so it can come off the lift. And I think that's gonna take me to the end of today. And then we'll be back in tomorrow, probably to finalize the M3. I think the client's gonna be picking up the 430 and continue on our workflow. Depending if we get word on the 458, maybe or maybe not, we'll be working in the F12. And I'm excited to show you guys some F12 content on the channel. Excited to get out and take the car on a test drive. And believe it or not, that car, 587 miles, and the client has insisted that I test drive it. I asked him, I told him, usually when I get a car like that, low mileage, I'm like, normally my procedure is I always test drive a car, but if it's a really low mileage car, I'm sensitive to that and I will not drive it if you don't want me to. And he was absolutely persistent that I take the car out for a drive. So we'll take the car out for a drive, get it evaluated, do that service work. Probably gonna do a video on that car just because it's such a cool car. I think that's gonna cover me for today. I'll probably see you guys back out here in the morning. Morning, we are back at it and looking to have a productive day today. So towards the end of yesterday, we got the 430 on the lift. I'm actually most of the way through that oil change. I'm gonna get that finished up here real quick, get that car back on the ground. I really just need to get my under trays back on it, finalize my oil level, get the car cleaned up, and then we're gonna be done with that and get that car back to the client. So that is a great way to start the day out. I also got some of the remaining information that I needed on the 458, so I have a clear path forward there, which is fantastic. So that's gonna free me up to continue, or I should say, the finish up the reassembly of the interior to get everything put back in the car, get that stuff finalized. So really, we're in a really good position where we have the 430, get that finished up. We're basically free and clear on work on the 458. We're mid progress on the M3, we're free and clear there, and then we're gonna get the F12 taken care of. So really, my goal by the end of this week is to have these cars all taken care of. So a cool little story here. About a month ago, I had a client that actually brought by a 575 for just a basic oil change, a look over, and some small service work on a few loose odds and ends. The interesting thing about that is this client actually is from Massachusetts, and he was taking that 575 on a journey across the lower 48 states. So I believe he was on the road for 2 months. He did about 14,000 miles on the car. I believe the car had 8,000 miles on it when he bought it. I was initially planning to film some of that for some of the vlog style videos when he actually came in the shop and got the car serviced, because we had it scheduled well in advance. Before he even started his journey, he reached out, talked to me, and we were in communication and had a plan of attack, what we're gonna do to the car, time frame, timing wise. And I thought it was gonna be fantastic stuff to bring you guys along on, but really is what happened is when the car got here and we had the service work, we had a little bit more work than we were expecting. So I was focused purely on getting the car taken care of, where I didn't film at all that week and getting him back on the road. But he just made a fantastic video kind of chronicling his journey of his road trip that he put up on YouTube. So I'm gonna put a link over here so that way you guys can check it out. Definitely go take a look at that video because I think it's the road trip we all wish we could go on. So it was a lot of fun being a small part of this client's road trip, and he was going through and sending out frequent email updates about his road trip to an email list. And it was really fun to follow along and watch when he first kicked off this road trip as he progressed through up until the point where I finally got to meet him in person, service his car, and then watch the rest of the journey of this road trip. Be sure to jump over there, check out that video, and really, you know, I think for most of us, we're gonna have to live vicariously through him, and maybe it's gonna inspire some others to get out there, get behind the wheel of their cars, and take them on some road trips.
Well, good morning again, but it's not the same morning. Did not bring you guys back yesterday, and yesterday did not go as planned whatsoever, solely based on the fact that I didn't get remotely done what I said I wanted to as a goal to get done or had planned to do. But I will acknowledge, anytime I set out a daily goal of things to get done, and it has been this way pretty much my entire adult life, I almost never achieve everything I want. So it actually happened to me a week or two ago here in the shop where I got everything that I wanted done in the shop plus some. And when I got home, I was just waiting for my wife to ask me, "What'd you get done in the shop today?" And I was like, "You're never going to believe what I got done in the shop today." And so she started guessing on what cars I got completed. And I was like, "No, I got everything on my list done today." So it's kind of a big thing whenever I hit that mark. So yesterday, like I said, it's pretty much a normal day, I guess you could say. I set out goals and expectations, and I put way more on my plate than I can chew. I go after it, and I don't hit them, and then I come back in this next day and do the same process all over. But the shop is actually getting thin. So we did finish the 430, got that wrapped up, and the client came and picked the car up. And I will say that the shop really swelled up quite a bit because we were up to, what, 7 cars in the shop. I pretty much had space for one more car before I'd have to start stacking under the lifts. I mean, we were really full. And now we're up here with 5 cars today. And there is really strong likelihood that this car will be finished and hopefully delivered back at the end of this week. So that's going to put us at 4. And I know that this car, I'll probably have this car finished. I don't know if it'll be picked up. So it's going to thin out really quick. I need to get some more cars in here. I do have a couple more cars lined up that'll be coming in, but honestly, my schedule is fairly open for the tail end of July. We're looking pretty light back there, which is okay with me because I have so much stuff around the shop that I have not done since I moved in that I need to do. Like, I got the shop to a point where I could function, and then I was like, I'm gonna start turning, getting cars serviced and keeping the cars moving through the shop, get my clients taken care of. And there is so much stuff that I want to do that I haven't done to the shop that I was told myself I'll do when I don't have any cars to work on. So where we're at right now, it's okay for me not to have cars to work on, and I'm pretty grateful that I've made it this far without any advertising, worked through my backlog of work, and still have stayed quite busy with cars coming through the shop. So since that's kind of where we're at today, and like I said, I'm enjoying all this extra space now. And since we didn't get our objective done yesterday, like I mentioned, it was all of the 430, and then I wanted to focus on the M3, and that's where we're at today, where I'm going to pick up. And really, I have everything torn down, ready to get the new bearings in. I actually did work on this yesterday, except I wasn't working on the car so much as I was cleaning parts, cleaning my oil pan, getting everything set out, my rod bolts, stretch gauge, tooling. Got all this stuff cleaned up in the solvent tank, got everything laid out, and just really got myself prepped and set up for a hopefully successful day today. I think things are going to go pretty good. I do have some reservations with the rod bearings though. We are replacing the factory rod bolts with ARP bolts. They do give us a torque spec to just torque them, but ideally you want to stretch them. So this is going to take a little bit longer for me to do the bearings because I've already kind of experimented to see if I can get the gauge in there, and it's going to be real tight with the engine in the car to get my stretch gauge on, get my bolts, get it on the bolt, get my torque adapter on the bolt, on the torque wrench, and really work with everything in there. That is a lot going on. So I'm gonna try my best to do that. If I have to, I'll just torque to the torque spec ARP gives us, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to measure the stretch as I'm torquing them. On top of that, you guys probably saw it on the bench over here, plastic gauge. So I'm actually gonna go through, since those are not factory BMW bearings, these are aftermarket, and I'm gonna be plastic gauging each bearing. So I'm gonna be measuring each bearing clearance. Now, that was one thing during the recall when we did these back at the dealership, we did not do that. We pulled the engine codes, the VIN number of the car, the serial number of the engine. There was some conversion charts that we had, and it told you what parts to put in the car. And we just pulled the old bearings out, put the new bearings in, put the car back together. So it was a pretty quick, easy job
You weren't measuring any clearance. You weren't really checking anything. Depending on the year of the car, you had 2 different types of rod bolts, 2 different torque procedures. So it was a pretty straightforward other than your torque procedure. So it's going to be a bit more work for me today to really, I'm going to have to do it all twice. You know, I have to take the old bearings out, put the new bearings in, get everything cleaned, put the plastic gauge up, torque it, pull it back apart, look at the plastic gauge, make sure we're good, pull the bearings back out, get everything lubricated, put everything back together, torque it for good, and then move on. And fortunately, it's only a 6-cylinder, so only 6 times. And then at that point, once that's done, it's a matter of just reassembling the car, which I anticipate that will go really quick. Good morning. Happy hump day. It is now Wednesday morning. How did we fare last night on our M3 project? Well, I say I got to where I wanted to be. I said I wanted the car completely finished, but you can see that I have the car back on the ground. I have my my engine cradle support off of the car. I have the car pretty much all the way back together. It's got oil in it. Only thing I need to do is start the car, give it another good look over, and then put our skid plate and our under trays in the car, test drive it, and call it good. So I didn't quite completely finish it, but it was actually late. I stayed a little bit later just to get that done and get to a good stopping point, and then to do today's version of Nick a favor and get the shop a little bit cleaned up and organized. I hate leaving a mess for myself. So that's the first order of business today, is to get that all finished up so we can have this car done and deliver it back to the client. And then once we're done at the M3, my focus for the rest of the week is going to be our F12, which this one should be relatively simple. Again, such a low mileage car. Don't expect to find a whole lot wrong with it. Doing some basic fluids, pretty basic service. So given that I have today and tomorrow to work on the F12, be no problem to get that taken care of. And that'll have us set up for really good shape for next week, where we're going to be jumping back into our 458, have that car buttoned up as soon as possible. It's been here for a while, and get it back into the client's hands. Excited to see that one conclude and get wrapped up. So for today, it's going to be a pretty basic day for me. It's pretty straightforward. Finish up our M3, take it for a road test. Again, continue in that stroll down memory lane. It's going to be nice to get it out on the road, verify our repairs, verify our work, but also just to kind of, you know, bring back all those memories from the younger version of Nick. And then, well, we're going to focus on our F12, which when it comes to the front engine V12 Ferraris, F12, 812s, they're some of my favorites. I definitely enjoy these cars. Fantastic cars. That's what we're looking at for today. I'm going to jump over and dive into our M3, get that wrapped up. Well, we're at the midpoint of our day, and I figure I'll grab the camera and get you guys caught up with where we're at. Starting off with our M3. It's all finished up. We got the oil level set, all the fluids set, ran the car, it ran great, did our test drive. It was great to get back in one and drive it, and really that job in general just brought back so many memories from early on in my career. A lot of really fond memories, so I really enjoyed doing that car. It just was nostalgic. It was a lot of fun. So got that taken care of. You can see we are currently working on the F12, doing our oil service. I'm filming some videos on that. I kind of have the car sitting right now. I'm just letting it take its sweet time to drain the oil. Sometimes it just seems like the oil just never stops coming out of these cars. So I try to do other odds and ends, keep myself busy so I can get as much of that old oil out, get the new oil in. But we are filming some, I'd say lighter videos. They're not overly technical, but just kind of showing you the process that I take to get that car serviced. And I know I'm gonna hit my head on these one of these days. It's just a given fact. I haven't done it yet, but because I'm so tight with my wall to get cars in and out, I found that it's actually easier for me to just raise the lift arms up when I'm pulling the cars out. That way, when I turn, I can cut the cars over and I don't have to worry about hitting the lift arms on the ground with the wheels. So I just leave them up so that way it's easier when I pull the next car in. And I know one of these days I'm just gonna come cruising through and just knock myself out, but I'll let you know when that day happens. It's inevitable, it's gonna happen. But that's really where we are. Like I said, I'm focused fully on the F12 here. There was the partial shelf trim in the back trunk where the fabric had come down, so I'm over there getting that re-adhered back on and getting that taken care of. You guys can see I got the shop doors open, which I gotta say, this shop setup is working far better than I ever anticipated or expected. You know, this wall right here, it is concrete. Obviously, both exterior walls are concrete, but the exterior walls are only 30 feet wide, so there's not a lot of exposure to the outside elements.
This wall is wood. There's a tenant on the other side as well as this one here. But because there's 3 walls effectively of all concrete, and I'm fortunate to have insulation on the ceiling, the thermal performance of the shop is kind of actually outstanding. We've had a couple hot days here where it crests 90, 91, 92, 93 degrees, which for Seattle is hot. I know for a lot of you guys isn't. But it cools down in this part of the country a lot at night. It gets down into the 50s pretty much every night, meaning all of this concrete that I have surrounding me stays really cool. So if it's going to be a hot day, I found that it's actually smarter for me to keep these doors shut. And the shop, even on a 93 degree day outside, is in the 80s. Once I open the doors, I'm screwed. I lose all that cool air and everything warms up pretty quick. So the key is keeping the doors shut. On a day like today where I think it's 70 degrees, I can open both doors and it is very enjoyable in here right now. I have a nice cross breeze, I am comfortable, and I'm not too hot. I'm really happy with how it's working out this summer. It is by far the most comfortable shop I've worked in the summer, temperature-wise. We'll have to see what winter has for us. We do have a heater in here. I do plan on insulating the garage doors before winter rolls around. So I'm hoping that thermal performance of this concrete is going to help us in the reverse direction in the winter, and I hope it's not going to be too cold. But fingers crossed, we'll see. But it's been really, like I said, it's been enjoyable. It's more comfortable than the home shop I have. That one is a struggle to keep warm in the winter, and it gets far too hot in the summer because we have no airflow. And having airflow here is absolutely key. So that's where we're at today. Just waiting for the oil to finish draining, then I'll keep recording, going through and working on the service. And I think we're in pretty good shape to get most of the service taken care of today. It's such a low mileage car. There's really not much we're going to find that it needs. We're going to do basic fluids, oil, coolant, brake flush. A client requested that I put a battery in the car. We'll get all that taken care of pretty easily today. If not, it might roll in a little bit tomorrow. You guys can see, have all of the under trays off the car. He did request that I go through and inspect the car and give it a good look over, so I'm getting that taken care of. This one will be no problem to get knocked out. Once that F12 is taken care of, we already have our M3 taken care of. We're gonna be hot and heavy finishing up our 458. I'm eager to get back on that car and get to the ultimate stopping point. Happy Thursday morning. Here we are at the end of our week in the shop, and it's been a pretty good, productive week. Pretty happy with it. So where did we end off with our F12 yesterday? Well, I got pretty much all of the oil change done. I got the coolant flushed, got the under trays off the car, really went through, got the car inspected, nearly finished up the service work. What do I have remaining? You can see I am all prepped, locked and loaded to do a brake flush. So I got my bleeder on it. I got my stabilized power supply on it. We got our Leonardo hooked up to it so I can activate the ABS. So when I do a brake flush, I'm gonna use the pressure bleeder to push fluid through the system, but I'm also gonna run the ABS bleed cycle. So that way it's running all the valves and the ABS control unit to get all of the fluid through all the circuits and everything flushed completely through. So I'm about to hop in the car and get that taken care of. Once I have the flush done, I need to replace the battery in the car. Then I just have to work to put it back together, get the under trays back on it, get the car on a road test, which hopefully the weather holds out today and I can get that done. After the road test is when I set the oil level on these V12 cars. The procedure for setting the oil level is actually a little bit different for the chain-driven V12 Ferraris as opposed to all the other Ferraris, where I actually have to hold the car, rev it up to 3,000 RPM for a minute, and then let it come to idle, and then check my oil level. Then each time I make a change to the oil level, I have to rev the car again, hold it at 3,000 RPM, let it come back down the aisle, then go check the oil level. Again, we're still aiming for the same mark at the minimum on the dipstick. This is the first chain-driven V12 I had to do, and it's kind of funny because when I was doing signing the lease for the shop, they had some verbiage in there for no revving cars. And I actually kind of had to push back on that, and I was like, well, I kind of have to. Sometimes I need it for diagnostic reasons, but also I need it for this case to set the oil level in this car, which these cars at 3,000 RPM, they're not quiet. And I don't complain. I love it. I mean, it sounds glorious, but I just wanted some protection in the lease so that way I can do what I need to do. And obviously I'm not going to be obnoxious to my neighbors, but that created a lot more headache than I anticipated. It was actually the biggest holdup in the lease agreement to get that finalized. And after I talked to the property owners, explained what I was doing and why I was doing it, we finally came on agreement. This will be the first car I have to do it to. And I'll say so far, everyone that I've met around here, they're pretty enthusiastic that I got these cars here and I'm working on them. So I don't anticipate there to be a problem with it. But I probably will still try to do it towards the end of the day if I can, say like around 4 or 5 o'clock when most people have left, because I don't want problems. That's all there is to it. I don't want to create any issues with people around me, and I want to be able to, continue working here trouble-free. So that's where we're at with the F12. I anticipate we'll have that wrapped up, taken care of today, where I'll be able to jump on. I'll probably rearrange the shop at that point. I'll probably jump back onto a 458, get that back on the same lift where our F12 is currently at, where it was at. And I'll probably get our 348 uncovered, get it moved to a lift. And like I mentioned, I'll probably just move the cars around a little bit so that way I have good workflow and set me up for a successful next week. I think today's going to be a little bit more of a casual day, a little easy day, which with it being the end of my week and on the edge of a holiday weekend, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm pretty tired from the past couple of weeks, so I'm just going to take it easy today, enjoy it, get the F12 taken care of, and get myself set up and prepped for next week. Here we are at the end of my work week, so the end of Thursday, and it is time to shut it down and call it a week. You can see I got all the cars covered up. Everything's on battery maintainers. We did a little bit of shuffling in the shop, so the F12 is pretty much finished up back there in the corner, and it's going to wait for pickup. Our M3, it is finished. Talked to that client. It'll probably be getting picked up later next week. Same thing for the F12. Both of those cars are going to be here for a little bit. So I took advantage to just rearrange everything in the shop so that way I don't have to move any cars next week. So we have the 458 back here on our first lift. That's going to be my focus all next week. I've mentioned it several times. I'm going to finish up the car play, do a reverse camera, get the car serviced, finish up absolutely every ounce of work that I can do to this car while we wait for that exhaust. It's supposed to be here this month, so I want to be locked, loaded, and ready to go once I get that exhaust. Then up next, our 348. Yeah, she's back on the lift. We're going to be diving in, pulling the engine, doing a major service on that, so I'm pretty excited about that. Not sure if we're going to get into that next week. I think that'll be bonus. I'm planning on just dedicating my entire week to the 458, giving myself all the time I need. If we get to the 348, awesome, outstanding. Like I mentioned, F12 finished, waiting for pickup. M3 finished, waiting for pickup. Cobra, well, that's going to be there for a while, waiting for that fuel tank. They gave me a good fair warning. That's going to be a decent turnaround time on that. So that car is just going to be there for a while. Pretty productive week or two, I should say. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I covered more than just a week here in the shop because I really wanted to keep my focus on the long form videos and the client's cars. And honestly, I was thinking about it, and I have so many videos that are either most of the way filmed or most of the way filmed and edited, ready to go, but there's just odd things that are preventing me from getting them uploaded. Case in point, I have the video for the dash removal and installation in this car completely finished and edited and ready to be uploaded, but I need to finish the sticky video first, so like the sequence of events matters, and I need to finish the sticky video while I need to get the interior completely reassembled, and I need to finish the car play. So meaning once I finish the car play, I can finish that video, then I'll finish the sticky video, then I have the third video ready to go. We have videos for our Cobra that, well, I'm waiting on a fuel tank, so that video is just sitting there kind of halfway finished. I have an inspection video on the 348, halfway finished. I need to film a little bit more, then edit that. M3 video, I actually have everything I need to get that edited and uploaded, so we're in good shape there. And then the F12, I have a couple videos that I made of that I need to get edited and uploaded. So I am feeling like I'm getting pretty backed up. I've kind of lost my cadence on getting videos out frequently lately, and I feel like as I go and I look at my files on the computer, I have all of these videos just stacked, and it feels like they're all just waiting on something. So hopefully I can get a couple of those out soon, and we can start getting back onto a more frequent cadence, getting more of that long form content out for you. And well, as for next week, since I mentioned, it's going to be focused purely on the 458. I have not decided if I'm going to do a vlog style shop update series video next week or not, or if I'm just going to come in and buckle down and focus on this car, which I'm leaning towards that. Which means, I'm not sure when I'll see you guys back out here for another shop update, probably when there's something worth talking about, updating you guys on the status of things. Like I mentioned, I think things are going to stay pretty calm here for the next week or two. Once things kind of starting to liven back up again, I'll bring you guys back, bring you along for my work week or 2 or 3 on what's going on here in the shop and the projects that I'm working on. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. You know the drill. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, drop a comment below, hit the hype button. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.